Hey guys, hello. Welcome to the Wallifornia Virtual Summit 2020. It's already our last edition of the day, but we will see a very good one. A panel curated by our friend from Chile, MUSTACH, the MusicTech Association in Chile. And they will talk about Latam Covid Effects in numbers, tech solutions for a healthy recovery. The panelists are Cristobal Dañobeitia from MUSTACH in Chile, Daniela Ribas from Sonar Cultural in Brazil, Nicolas Madoery from Dito Music in Argentina, and Noemí Planas from Rin in Spain. Guys, the stage is yours. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you, Jerome, from the invitation. Here from Mustach, we try to make a panel trying to talk about Latin America in general as a region, but our panelists are going to talk about, of course, of their countries, their own countries, and trying to finally set a little bit of a view for the future for technology and music industry in the region. I will start introducing myself. I'm Cristobal Dañobeitia, as Jerome say. I am the Vice President of the MusicTech Association here in Chile. We are a guild of different companies, like 20 companies doing from digital like aggregation companies, also ticketing companies, also augmented reality for venues and things like that. Now we have particularly a very big project. It's called the Digital Observatory for Chilean Music, and this project I lead this project, and that's why this panel is more about numbers and then technology. So what we do here in the Digital Observatory for Chilean Music, we create methodologies to analyze the economic impact of the music in Chile and develop some big data tools using numbers from different streaming platforms to be more or less like a chart metric, but non-profit for Chile, and we hope so in the few years for Latin America. So I have to repeat that our special thanks to Mustach and Wallifornia for the invitation. We love Wallifornia. I think it's a very good event specializing in music and technology, and we hope to, this is the second year we are, the last year was in presence, and we have a company actually in the acceleration program, and then we go to the festival, we meet a lot of people, we like very much Liege, so I hope to be there the next year, and now try to do things in the digital in the Zoom, via Zoom, that is very difficult, and we are this is like my new home. I all the day I'm in the Zoom, so it's kind of more like usually during the days these days. So I want to the other panelists make a little bit of an introduction of them. If you can say a little bit of who are you, which are the organizations that you represent, and then after that, everyone, a little presentation. I will ask you a few things about numbers, but please be brief in your presentation. Daniela, if you can start, please.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation. And well, introducing myself. I'm Dani Ribas from Brazil, São Paulo. I'm director of Data Sim. Here in Brazil, we call Data Sim, not Data Sim. And Data Sim is a research hub for the music market, created and supported by Sim São Paulo International Music Week, a music convention created in 2013. I'm a sociologist. I hold a PhD in sociology, and I was consultant for music projects like UNESCO, Mercosur, for example. For us, it's important to say that DataSync do not receive direct support or budget from government. We survive the sponsorship of companies that use fiscal renunciation policies. Our mission in DataSync is to understand the value of music and measure that value. We do research and studies to obtain data on music markets. We count, of course, on strong commitment of the São Paulo community to respond our surveys. These studies are available in our website, datasync.info. And we have our own methodologies, but we can also develop the specific methodologies based on demand. Our main focus in Brazilian market is Brazil and consequently Latin America, with operation very similar to Brazil. And this month, for example, DataSync is conducting a survey in Chile, justo in Chile, on female participation in the Chilean music market in partnership with more than 20 Chilean organizations. We care about the São Paulo community, and for this reason, we quickly conducted a survey on COVID-19's impact on Brazilian market. Before social isolation was announced here, we launched this survey and published our full results so that our community could count on really reliable numbers to make better decisions. The focus of this research was the companies, not artists. And then I will comment some results, but after.
Oh, thank you, Danny. Noemí, can you talk?
Yes, so I am Noemí Planas. I'm in charge of network development at WIN, the Worldwide Independent Network. WIN was founded in 2006. It's actually based in London, although I am based in Madrid, so we are a bit all over. We bring together 31 local independent music trade associations throughout Australasia, Asia, Europe, North and South America. We have three all the ones represented here today: Argentina, Chile, and Brazil. They all have associations that are members of WIN. And we act as a global coordination and support body for the independent sector, focusing on its long-term development and sustainability. And since the outbreak of the pandemic, we have been supporting the independent trade associations and their members worldwide by sharing information and knowledge, mapping the measures approved by governments and other organizations around the world, monitoring action taken by the music sector itself, and providing like hands-on practical resources for the independent community. For instance, we have published some updates and guides on performance rights and digital platforms that you can find on our website. And I think that the consequences of the global recession caused by the COVID-19 are devastating for the music industry, but we believe that they can also lead to positive and transformative effects. So maybe we can talk about this later.
Thank you, Noemí. Nicolas.
Okay, hi. Thanks for the invitation. I have different hats, and the principal is I have a 42 hertz is the name of our enterprise. With 42 hertz, we work in develop strategies and tools for the develop of the music industry. We have different programs. We develop like educational programs. For example, with the British Council, we develop Selector Pro in Argentina and the communication in Latin America. We work for the different institutions in the rest of the country and in general in Latin America, working or thinking how we can develop or generate a new music industry. Also, I represent the aggregator Digital Music. I am the country manager for Argentina and also Chile, Uruguay. And also, I work a lot with Noemí because I am the secretary in the NACIAR, our trade association for the independent record labels in Argentina.
Thank you, Nicolas. So as you can see, we have a very good panel now here. So different kind of views and very connected with the region also. So I think that is important for do a perspective from Latin America. I will start doing like some numbers from Chile to use it as an inspiration for the next interventions. So we also have a interview as like a questionnaire that we do during the first days here in the pandemic of the COVID. It's between the half of March to the last days of March, and we have 2,000 valid responses, and we note a little few things that I can say it. So we know that it's very centralized, our industry here in Chile. We much or 70% of the music industry in Chile is based in metropolitan region. It's the capital Santiago and, and things near. And for other things, we have a very big music industry related to music and composition. So we have a in other ways is to say that we have a lot of musicians, and I think that is something very particular to say for our country or maybe for Latin America, that many people is a musician. And in the other side, we are very related to the live industry, like 17% of the music industry is only dedicated to live industry, and usually the revenues maybe more or less come 70% from the live industry. So in this sense, we have a market very related to the live industry, and that's why probably this kind of the pandemic or this context is very difficult for us, because we are not so develop the digital transformation from the music industry. I will explain a little bit about that. Also, we have a lot of musicians and people in the music industry working in other countries. For example, for Europe, the main countries that Chileans go is Spain and Germany. And here in Latin America, we have the US, of course, in North America, and Argentina and Mexico. That's a little bit like where Chileans go. And the creative industry in Chile, he have here in Chile make the 2.2 GDP for the country, and it's supposed to be like 0.6 or 0.7 for the GDP of the country from the music industry. That's big, and probably it's much more because there are many things that the music industry support to other industries, like for example tourism. So we have this is an example. I live now in Valparaiso, and a lot of the music industry here in Valparaiso is related with the tourism and with restaurants, foods. So probably the money that comes from music to the GDP in general, it's much more than that. In the other side, we have a very good, and probably that this is something good in Chile. We had a very big support from the government in funds to companies and for musicians. But now I'm going to talk a little bit more about companies. So we have in our survey, we noticed that 30% of the companies in music industry have a government fund that they are using right now. So this is maybe something important to another company who wants to come to Chile to investment, that you can use or you can apply to a fund with another Chilean company and make it better to land. No, and so now the bad news in the COVID context, we expected in this in the time that we make the survey, that is was final days of March, we expected a 40% of decrease for the year in general. So now probably this is going to be more. So we are talking about a 50% or 60% of decrease in the revenues for the music industry in general. That is very high. And also we have to say that here the situation in Chile in particular is not so good, so probably the return for the music industry is going to be very late, probably now on the next year at least. So that is very difficult for the country. But there is some kind of opportunities that we can say that is increasing the view of trying to innovate or make a digital transformation here in the companies in Chile. We noticed that the 60% of the company consider likely or very likely to innovate. And the distribution of these answers is very interesting because small companies are more likely to innovate. And I think that this is something that I can say that is very specific for the Chilean market. We here in Chile, 98% of the music in Chile is managed in independent labels or independent companies that I say that are small companies that are doing the work. So this means something very special, that in Chile our industry market is very distributed in small actors. So in this sense, if someone want to invest here in Chile, probably it's better to invest with small companies in some way and trying to develop there, because they have the reality of the market. Some few artists and few big events, of course, are related for big companies, but there is a lot in the independent scene that have to grow up, and sometimes there is not so that is difficult because this gap between our capability in the digital transformation and the company. So if I want to say something very special from Chile, is that to make an abstract, is that we have a very independent music industry, very diverged in small companies, and at the same time we have a very good relation with the funds government, and that we have and also I don't have the data here, but Chile in general have a lot of access to internet in the whole country. So we have a lot of internet access in the whole country, and that's maybe something interesting to the digital transformation. So that's a little bit. Maybe this is the thing that I want everyone to say. Maybe say some numbers from their own countries, and say opportunities or projects or technologies that can be important for the region. Okay. Maybe we can start like in the same direction. Danny, I'm using the direction here in the Zoom, so I say Cristóbal, and then.
Okay. Well, here in Brazil is a little different from Chile, because we don't have a good approach, a good access to funds of government. But I think that there is another opportunities. I will talk about this. I said that we conducted a survey about COVID-19 in Brazilian markets. The main results of this survey, well, we interviewed 1,399 respondents, but we considered valid answers 536 usable answers from entrepreneurs, small, medium, large, micro-sized companies. Only in this 536 usable answers, we have over 8,000 events affected, 8 million audience directly affected, and $93 million estimated financial loss. Only about this 536 company only. Of course, today are updated figures about the survey because it's an initial survey. But our survey was the first to give numbers to our community. It was used a lot of musicians, for example, to demand help from Brazilian government, which of course did not respond to this challenge, as always, different from Chile, for example. But in our reports, there are qualitative insights, which I would like to take up here to point the opportunities. The main of result is of the resizing of the use of personal time. Free time is essential to cultural enjoyment, and in this situation of the pandemic, has necessarily been redimensioned by isolation. This may affect domestic cultural consumption and music listening habits. Only time will be able to tell us whether these changes will be lasting or insignificant for the music market. But certainly the major players in the ecosystem must deal with such changes so that can be up to date with the consumer trends. I mean that the time, the use of the personal time is an opportunity. Why? It's clear that the entire music of sector in Brazil is suffering from the crisis, but I think that is an opportunity as well. The Brazilian, in general, has a very active life on social networks. It has been like since Orkut, and it continues on Facebook and Instagram. In April 29 article, NASDAQ from New York drew attention to the fact that live broadcasts have gone viral in Brazil. So we can say that live virus, in addition to the coronavirus, the chewed virus. Everyone here in Brazil, from CEOs to government ministers, made their own live broadcasts. With much of the world stuck at home, YouTube's top 10 most watched concerts in real time, 7 of those 10 were Brazilian artists in April, not now, but in April, yeah. Marília Mendonça, for example, it's a big artist from Brazil, drew 3,300,000 peak concurrent viewers. It was a record for YouTube. Second, Sandra Jimenez, head of music partnership for YouTube in Latin America. YouTube has seen a very specific phenomenon in Brazil, with musical live streaming, especially for sertanejo, a genre of music. Lives are the new prime time for Brazilians, said Sandra Jimenez. In the same article, there is an observation. The Brazilian business-oriented live stream different from those in most other countries, in that include Q&A sessions and open to all interested viewers. Not only to clients, but all the people who wants to watch. So I think that is an opportunity here, considering the size of the use of personal time that I had commented before, and considering this obsessive or desperate Brazilian behavior by live broadcasts, we have an opportunity both for the community of artists who saw their revenues disappear, and for potential investors too. For example, the Brazilian startup called Sound Club Live, which promptly after the subscription live stream service, is strongly battling this market with Twitch from the giant Amazon. It's a new entrepreneur Brazilian called Sound Club Live that offer live streaming service, but paid subscription. This platform brings hug opportunities in the area of publishing and licensing, because they are making the first deals now in the area of publishing and licensing. I think that is this area is growing into the world. Let us remember that the publishing area has grown worldwide. The area also brings opportunities for exploring big data on music consumption on these platforms. Understanding the new consumer behavior of live streams in Brazil will be an important asset in this ecosystem. But it's not possible to explore these markets without local partners, because we have a deep understanding of the characteristic of the market and mainly the Brazilian cultural dynamics. I think that it's a very important characteristic. From the point of view of the musical market, is very different from other countries in Latin America. Here in Brazil, we listen 90% of Brazilian music. It's important here. This experience is essential to analyze and predict consumer behavior in Brazil in the post-pandemic era. My work as a sociologist or a director of data scene certainly puts me in a privileged position to observe these new behaviors of the Brazilian consumers. I want my experience contribute to develop the Brazilian market. And strategic international partnerships will always be welcome. I think that these two areas are important, publishing and licensing and music consumption. Behavior of the consumer. It's the two areas that presents opportunities in the area of technology. Okay.
Thank you, Dani. I think I'm going to write a little questions especially for each one of you, but maybe we can go to Noemí to explain a little bit more of his view.
Yes. So as Dani was saying, no, that we've seen that the cancellation of concert stores and festivals and all these main sources of revenue for the music companies are not drastically reduced, and so other sources become essential, and they have to do with rights licensing. As she was saying, I think there's two sides of that. One is the digital rights to streaming platforms, etc. And the other one is the public performance revenues. And maybe I will talk a little bit about this, because I think in Latin America in particular, they are very untapped, I think, as opposite, for example, as in Europe or other territories that I think are more developed. Companies invest more in this management properly, of their rights, etc. So yeah, public performance. Just for people that don't know, is that for the use of music in commercial establishments, restaurants, shops, etc. It can also include, if you include public communication, it's also broadcasting, radio, and TV. So the use of the recordings there. For the record labels I'm talking, I mean, there's also the public performance for authors, publishers, etc. But if we see, for example, a music company that's a record label or manages some rights for the artist, that would be the main source, for public performance. So even though they will see a reduction due to the crisis, the cycles of payments are long, so probably the effects won't be seen until next year, which means you have a source of liquidity right now through this, both digital, if you have a back catalog, or your public performance rights. So talking about technology, earlier this year in WIN, we launched a new pan-industry technical service to deliver data about sound recordings to the music licensing companies. Music licensing companies are the collecting societies for record producers. For example, in Belgium, that would be CIMIM. And it's called RDX. RDX stands for Repertoire Data Exchange, or Data Exchange, and it's a joint venture company operated on a 50-50 basis between IFPI and WIN. And PPL in the UK is the technical partner for this. And RDX is a data exchange mechanism based on DDEX standard, the RDR, or Recording Data and Rights Standard. And for those of you who may not know, DDEX is a consortium of media companies, music licensing organizations, rights owners, digital service providers, and other technical intermediaries. And its standards are like the language that enables all music companies to communicate with each other. So WIN is a member of DDEX, and we contribute to the development of these standards. One is, for example, between the record labels and the digital platforms, and another one is between the record labels and these collecting societies for the producers. So using this standard, the project RDX allows these MLCs, music licensing companies, to populate their databases with more accurate and consistent data from the record labels in a more timely and efficient way. So it improves the accuracy, simplicity, and transparency of the operations. So this is just one example. Now, RDX is not the solution for public performance rights revenue losses due to the venue closures, for example, but it will guarantee that more accurate payments can be made to the record companies around the world and more quickly. So it's just an example of some piece of technology that you can use and also an opportunity, because this, so the RDX is only, let's say, the mechanism or the language to share these, but record labels or their data partners can develop a business through that. So not so much the record label. Let's say many of the labels don't use DDEX standards because it requires a lot of infrastructure in your own. So maybe there's companies that act as intermediaries that can then help the labels get their data through these, and then to the music licensing companies all around the world, which usually don't have what we call bilateral agreements. So some of them do. Author societies tend to have more, and performers as well. But for the record labels, producer society, there is definitely a gap there, and many societies do not exchange information or payments abroad. So this would definitely help with all this. Just, you know, as an example of something that the industry can do to help with these sources of revenue that you can depend on when there's no concerts and there's no record shops, etc.
Thank you, Noemi. Very clear. Nicolas?
Okay, yes, very, very clear, and I agree with the concept in general. And the situation in Argentina is similar, like Chile, I think, or Brazil, with the different points related with the local governments. Here, the government is supporting the culture, but we have an economy of total crisis. For that, the support is minimum, o sea, for the projects, but has good intentions. And for that, we have, we think, we have a long-term process to rebuild the industry, and it's very important to understand that it's a global crisis. We have to think a process in parallel in every world. And one fact that I detect, and for that it's interesting for me, is related with the how in between March and May. This is related with Dito and another independent distributor. How the numbers of releases grow like 15%. And this is one important date, because the projects, a lot of a record label, a little record label or independent artists decide to release music. But the most interesting is how, or in this moment in the quarantine, they understand the need to develop a digital strategy. And this point is obviously in some sense, but in an economy based in the live music of the Argentina, because the more than for the independent music, or for the more than the 60% of the people working in the music industry is related with the live music here. understand the digital, or begin to think in the digital, and thinking in a strategy is a lot. And we think in this as how this is an opportunity, a real opportunity to generate process, to professionalize the musical ecosystem in the digital strategies. And for that, there are 2 points or 2 opportunities or 2 big opportunities, I think, in this point are related with the technology. One is the how we think the education in general in this context, because the model of the education traditional in the digital is doesn't sense, or we need to new models to generate capacities in the digital. Um, and updated at the moment, understanding the concept in the real time, and how we can apply a new technology for general experiences in the education. I think this is a very important. And and another point is how, or another challenge is in this point, and in the each project developing a digital strategy alone, in it, in sometimes with the record label, but in general alone with a small team, how we can generate tools to help at the project to generate the strategies, effective strategies, understanding the KPIs, keys to to continuing or to following the process, or how to understand a strategy in the long term, because we understand this is a need in the for the artists or for the independent sector here. It's because in the industry based in the live music, in the moment that we need to think, okay, now you need to develop a project in digital. How we think this, or how we think this strategy in an effective way, because for I think in Argentina, but I think in the rest of the world also, the first 2 or 3 months we saw 1 million of live streaming for the projects, without strategy, without engagement, without a public in the another side. But I agree with the Danny in understand the social networks for engage at the audience. But this need to have a strategy in the back to do effective, and for to think, and in this moment is really important to help at the project to develop in the long term, because I think this is a beginning of the new model, or in the digital, because we are living trends, but they aren't the new. The Zoom already exists at in the time, or the intelligent artificial, or the augmented reality, and for that the, 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 the importance here is how we use these technologies in an intelligent way.
Thank you, Nicolas. I want to make an abstract of this conversation. So I was hearing like Dani, she's talking about how the use of the time in the consumption is changing very fast. That Brazil have a very is leading a little bit of the live streams audience, and also live streams production, or making this content broadly in different areas in Brazil. So that's very interesting, because Brazil have a big audience, and usually have a very intern consumption. No, you usually, if when I say like Brazil, sometimes it's not Latin America. It's not in a bad way. It's saying that they have a so big market that they consumption their own content. So there is a big industry. I actually last year go in December and see how do you have a, I don't know, hundred of venues, thousands of bands, and thousands of companies also, and that you never know, and we are like near, so that's very incredible from the Brazil market. Also the Noemi is talking about how you can use technology to make more efficient the revenue from rights. That is probably something is a world problem, but it's very interesting for Latin America in the region, especially because, and this I talk about this last year when I go to UK, and I have many meetings with different people, that as in Europe, probably usually the music industry is very evolved in some way or more mature. So they have a lot of different organizations, companies, and very complex ecosystem. And here, Latin America, as is an industry less mature and that is growing up very fast, we have an opportunity to try to apply better practice in the digital area from the beginning. So I think that's something that Win is doing, and I think is something that we have to make the perspective for each country. And finally, Nicolas is talking a little bit about how is changing the capabilities for digital transformation, the needs from the artists, the needs from the also companies to make this digital transformation more efficient also, and how we can guide them to and in the education aspect to transform his capabilities in technology to make more efficient the opportunities that we are seeing right now. And that's a little bit your intervention, maybe more or less. Sorry if I skip something. And finally, we don't have too much minutes, and I want to respond a little bit of the question that we have. So shortly, I want to say that Latin America is a market that it must be to have more in the eye of the outside companies. I can use some numbers. For example, Mexico City is the in monthly listener by city in Spotify, is the biggest city that have more listeners in Spotify. Then the second city is Santiago, and then the third city is London. So you can see that Latin American cities have a big impact in listeners in Spotify. That in some ways the revenue. There is other countries.
Sao Paulo is 9th.
Is the Sao Paulo is the fifth.
5, okay.
So you can see in the top 5 we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cities from America and 3 cities from Latin America in the top 5 of listeners. So that's something very important to achieve, and this is repeating other type of things. So it's always like Mexico. See, Mexico is very big, but usually for Santiago it's very special because we have a lot of listeners, but this is the net of the data, so it's not proportional. So in that sense, it's very interesting that Santiago appears because we have only 7 million people here. So well, that's a little bit to notice about how Latin America is a very big opportunity for the music industry in general. And to finally, I want to give you in 1 minute, because we don't have too much time, how do you see the industry, or maybe some 2 tips for the music industry in Latin America for the future? Very shortly, maybe a concept. For me, for example, the concept is the digital transformation. It sounds very maybe a little bit abstract, but I see that in Latin America we need to go faster in the digital transformation, and also for the musicians, but at the same time for the companies. So I see that companies, whatever they do, is in live music industry or not, we must make a digital transformations and have, for example, the data. So because with numbers we can say why Latin America is a opportunity for the music industry in general, and also we can see in other countries what kind of the music industry we can export from here to there. So that's a little bit digital transformation and data. That's for me like the two concepts. If everybody can see two concepts, and we finish because we are late.
For me, the tip is consumer behavior in Brazil. Who understands this will understand our markets in the post-pandemic era.
Okay, for me, I think the strengthening the revenue mechanisms of the music industry is key to laying the foundations for a lasting recovery beyond the current crisis. So it's not just about now, but it's for the future. So anything that improves management, licensing, and remuneration of digital or public performance rights is a step in the right direction, I think.
And for me, I think one of the keys is recollect. We need to recollect information in the country and direction, and I think in general is work collective or working network. For that, I think the work we do in, I think, elemental or bathing in this moment, these 2 points.
Okay,
yes,
thank you
like,
for your.
sorry, maybe I forgot to mention that. So I said we represent trade associations from all over the world, but we have a special focus on the Latin American region to try to develop more associations there and regional associations as well, regional platforms. And we have this Latam network working group that actually does this, helps these associations to understand the market, collect data, and hopefully soon we will be able to bring more members from other markets like Mexico, Colombia, Peru, etc., to have a stronger region.
Yes, this can give me like the pass for the finish this panel. Connecting with a question that I have, one of the people, Joshua Kigling, was saying that how we can explain a little bit more of the association. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to say something. For example, in Chile, the association ecosystem or the association development, it was very, very, very important for the development. We grow up 500% in companies for the music industry, and this is at the same time when we develop of the associations. So we can see like a direct impact from the associativity for the grow up of the market. And also actually something very practical, we know all each other. I know Noemí, Nicolas, and Dani for the relations between associations. So probably it's not like we don't meet us from the company for a market or some more commercial stuff. So we meet up from the association ecosystem. So I think for Latin America and probably for the other parts of the world, associativity is something that is very crucial. And I think it's crucial for the modern systems, for the modern structures and other new model of the music industry that has to be, and is something that is important for arts in general, I think, and this is my personal opinion, that when we work with arts and we work at the same time with a commercial ecosystem, it's important this kind of the associativity, because we want to be like an industry, I hope, like more equally for the creation of the content, but also for the companies, like they have the revenue, but more equally in general. And so we came from arts, people that work in this love this. Is there nobody who works in the music industry works for only one money? That's happened a few times. But usually there's not so much money for people, and it's more like equally. So I think that's important, not for Latin America, but if we do it very well, we can be like an example for other industries that are more mature to have this vision. No, so trying to be more associative, trying to be more equal, and trying to make these creative contents useful for all. It's not, we don't have to forget that creative contents like music is very in the context of pandemic is not always entertainment, it's health. So that's a little bit my final message. I want to give you thank you to Dani Ribas, to Noemí Planas, to Nicolas Madoery, and to Jerome Van Herf for the invitation here in Wallifornia. Also, thank you for MUSTACH for the invitation, who has cured this panel, and to all the people who is working in Wallifornia outside the cameras in the production. It's a very good event. It's a very good summit. So hope to be here next year.